we had some questions already in relation to water quality. The next part of the code, operational code, talks about the water quality. Just an overview, we run through half of the parts, and of course this is also applicable to all the users and to the TSO, the water quality code. We will see that especially here in that area, the non-seawater plant operators, non-seawater plants, we need to look thoroughly into that aspects and into the specifications. The objective of that part, obviously, is that the water which is produced and fed into the transmission system is of transmitted water quality, is of the quality which is specified in the code in order to avoid the risk of health and also to avoid damage of equipment within the system. And it refers, and it's applicable to the transmission system operator, to the desalinated water producers, to the distributors, as well as the non-seawater plant operators. This code, this part of the code, refers to other parts and to other aspects, namely the transmitted water quality, online monitoring system, water sampling, and water quality failure. These are defined terms, and it's really worth to look into the definition as specified in the seawater desalination code. Transmitted water quality basically refers to main parameters as defined in the code, as well as other standards for remaining parameters, also referred to in this code. And each water producer has to ensure that the produced water out of his plants, which is fed into the transmission system, delivered in the end to the end consumers, is of such transmitted water quality, means follows the specifications as stated in the code. The transmission system operator himself, he has to ensure that what he receives at the connection point is of transmitted water quality. So there's an obligation on both ends. First of all, to produce it in a right way, and also to monitor what is going to be received at the connection points, but also to maintain the quality throughout the transmission system up to the connection points where the distributors are taking off the water and finally submitting it to the consumers. So the water producer, they shall really monitor continuously the quality of the delivered water directly upstream of the connection point. The TSO shall monitor the transmitted water which are supplied to the water distribution system directly upstream of the relevant connection points to the distribution system. These main parameters for online monitoring are stated here below. It's temperature, pH, conductivity, alkalinity, turbidity, residual chlorine, and LSI. So, and here you see this is what is also mentioned in the connection code, that of course this equipment must be there in order to be able to monitor online all these parameters. Furthermore, and recalling the connection code, there's also a sampling point required. In other words, samples must be taken frequently at the sample points in order to determine all the other parameters the code refers to, whether the water is within the specification. the results of these analyses shall be provided to the respective other party. So the data shall be exchanged. Data storage and reports, even for the online monitoring system, the data shall be stored appropriately for the samples as well, and shall be stored for at least 5 years. And end of March each year, the user shall submit all the monitoring and sampling results of the preceding year and to the TSO. The TSO then forwards the reports in relation to water quality to ECRA and informs ECRA on water quality failures. In case of a water quality failure, and this refers to your question you raised earlier, and a water quality failure is in principle any off-spec water. So even if conductivity is high by 5% only, it's a water quality failure. You're not complying with the specification. And whenever any party identifies a water quality failure, it must immediately inform the DWTSO about such a failure. The DWTSO will then in turn inform all the affected users. For instance, in particular, all the distribution systems which are downstream of such a water quality failure. If a water quality failure occurs within the transmission system itself, not from the production plants due to whatsoever reasons, then he will inform the distribution systems. There's no need to inform the production plants because they are not affected by such a failure. And here below you see roughly what information needs to be included in such a notification. The name of the user's contact details, time, location, expected and observed extent of any effects, and of course what has been done immediately in order to remedy such a failure. What is the reason for such notification and reports? And this relates basically to the majority of all these notifications, is to act appropriately, to take actions and take decisions in order to mitigate risks to the people, also risk to facilities and installations. And furthermore, to assess what happens and learn from the events in the past in order to avoid similar events in future. So once all this or the event has been assessed in more detail, the user then shall submit a comprehensive report on the failure, not later than 1 day, as I said, in order to get a grip on what happens there and how can such an event be avoided in future.